peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is. In this country, that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, "He is our son and he is our thief."
If you are deviant
Yes.
and I call you leader,
Yes.
probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth
Yeah.
in the security,
Yes.
governance,
Yes.
and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers,
Yes.
do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa. The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
I want to call upon the people of Abazonia today, wherever you are in the diaspora in Abazonia itself, that in a struggle you are bound to have divisions. But divisions should not divert you from the main focus, the main challenge. We have struggled to expose the happenings, the human rights abuses in Abazonia. The army has killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands, burnt houses of people, internet was cut off, schools were closed, dispensaries, hospitals were burnt down. Abazonians should not be intimidated by Paul Robia. It is not upon the leaders of Abazonia, because I am not from Abazonia, but I've played a pivotal role in making sure that I loud out the voices, I put out the call, I call upon AU, EU, United Nations, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. Many of them have listened to some of the things that I say here, and they have come at last. America, United States of America, is slowly moving towards giving the Abazonian people the dignity they deserve. I therefore call upon the leaders and the leadership of the Abazonian people to unite for a purpose. The unity of purpose is paramount, as opposed to disunity, which has nothing but only produces ego that we have seen in South Sudan. What has killed South Sudan is not because they don't have the money, the minerals, the resources. Is ego between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. We would not like to see that ego come to the people of Abazonia, the leadership of Abazonia. I call upon Samuel Sako, Akanga, Miran, and Eko to unite and talk with one voice on international scene. that will bring about the peace, the tranquility that you yearn for since 1961, when the Resolution 1608 was abandoned by the United Nations General Assembly and Abazonia was annexed by the Cameroon government by then. I call upon you, my brothers, to pick up the unity call and free your people without integration. Thank you.
Bilioni 115 waliolipwa kule Bagamoyo. Kama wapo wakazi wa Bagamoyo, inawezekana hawafiki 20. Watu ni wa mjini humu na wala hela hizo zimepotea. Na wawekezaji hao wanakuja na masharti ya ajabu, ni ya kichaa tu anayeweza kuyakubali. Anakuambia akijenga bandari pale, uhakikishe uendelezi bandari yoyote kutoka Tanga mpaka kusini Mtwara. Maana yake you are not allowed to construct any port. Ndio masharti. Wanataka ukishawapa pale, huruhusiwi hata kwenda kucollect revenue. TRA mnaisema iko hapa. Hairuhusiwi kukanyagwa pale wakishafanya investment. Wanatakiwa uwape guarantee ya kwanza bila kuwauliza miaka 33. Lakini ndio nawaeleza sasa. Lakini unatakiwa uwape rizi tofauti na sheria za nchi for 99 years. Na huruhusiwi hata kwenda kumuuliza atakaye kwenda kuwekeza pale. Na wao wawe na mandate ya kuichukua hiyo eneo kama ardhi yao. Lakini mnatakiwa mlipe compensation ya kazi watakayoifanya ya kuchimba ile bandari. Masharti mengi ya ajabu. Kwa hiyo najaribu kuzungumza haya ili kusudi sisi wa Tanzania tumechezewa mno miaka mingi. We are supposed to change. Na watu wamekuwa wakizunguka, they do a lot of lobbying. Lakini ni nchi gani hiyo ambayo unajenga bandari ya Dar es Salaam? Tunachimba sasa hivi kutoka Bethi 0 mpaka namba 10 kwa gharama ya trilioni 1.2. Tumekopa fedha, tumetumia fedha yetu na contractor yupo, na inawezekana at the end of this year watamaliza. Tutakuwa tunapata mizigo karibu mara 3 zaidi ya mizigo inayoingia. Leo unakwenda tena una dump hela pale Bagamoyo. Maana yake unaiua hii bandari ambayo imeachwa na Nyerere. Tumeshabinafsisha maeneo karibu 6 kwa kuwaweka, sitaki kuwataja, ninyi mnajua. Sasa mambo mengine ni kufikiria tu. Sasa bandari ya Tanga tunaiendeleza ili mikonge ya ndugu Shamte iwe inasafirishwa vizuri. Tumefanya lobbying kama nchi. Lile bomba la kutoka Hoima mpaka Tanga, bomba ambalo ni refu kuliko mabomba yote ambayo ni heated gas duniani, limewekwa Tanzania. Tuna promote ile bandari ya Tanga. Leo mtu aje akwambie hii usiendeleze kwa sababu tunakuendelezea Bagamoyo. Tunataka tufungue bandari ya Mtwara tumefanya investment ya bilioni 337 ili kusudi mafuta yanayosafirishwa yasiwe yanateremkia Dar es Salaam, yanayoenda kusini, kusudi wananchi wa kule bei iwe chini. Tunatengeneza barabara ya kutoka Mtwara mpaka Mbamba Bay na kuconnect mpaka Nkata Bay ili mizigo ya Malawi iwe inaenda mpaka Mtwara, tupate uchumi. Mtu anakuambia msiendeleze. Bandari ya Lindi tusiendeleze. Bandari ya Kilwa ambao ni the oldest port katika Afrika, tangu kwenye business za barter trade wakina bidi mapipa uji nani Matuta walivyokuwa wanakuja mwaka 1832, tusiendeleze. Sasa mnaweza mkaelewa, unajua business ni kutumia akili. Ninyi mna survive kwa sababu mnatumia brain. Pamoja na kero hizi za TRA na nini. Na ndio maana tumekutana hapa tudiskasi ili hizi problem zingine tuzisafishe haraka haraka.
Thank you very much, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya. Viewers, this afternoon is Africa Business. Africa means business. We also mean business. Africa is for us, and you are for us. This show, this television, encourages Africans to engage in business, growth, economy. We want people to know how much we can do. We are the most endowed continent with climate, weather, good rainfall, good sunshine, good soil. Do we produce for others or we don't produce? Do we blame others when the mistake is on our hands? With me today is the co-host of this show. As we promised you, she will be coming here every Tuesday and Thursday. Her show the last time worked fire on the digital platform. And today we believe in her business show, she's going to work another fire. Those outside in Europe, our satellite will pick you later in the evenings from Berlin. My offices in Berlin, thank you very much. Those in America, you are waking up. This is the show, Africa Business. Those in South Africa, Cape Town, Cairo, watching football, AFCON. Don't miss. I'm told that internet in Cairo has become a problem. They were prepared for such a match, but there is a dictator who is butchering people. So they have forgotten institutions. You can't host a football match when the Kenyan team cannot actually text out and see other matches. So thank you very much. My guest today and the co-host is none other than Ruth Wanjiru Kinyanjui. Can I take that one?
Yes.
Wanjiru Kinyanjui Kimani. Mwangi. Oh my God. Thank you very much. Africa Rising, good afternoon. Tuned from Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, my brother. Thanks. And John Eken, good morning. It's after. Oh, you are in the States. Good afternoon. How are you? Thank you very much. So, Ruth Wanjiru Kinyanjui Mwangi. I'm not going to miss it again. There was a time here when I've been fined the football club to a ticket, 10 tickets, because of making mistakes of names. So I don't want to repeat it. So thank you very much. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Today is our talk, how governments can foster economic growth in Africa. Microeconomics, what I told, economy, the money, the what, listen to her. Yes, let me allow you time to test the microphones.
Thank you, Daktari. Thank you for the welcome to the show. Thank you for the time for business. Africa truly means business. And even as we get started, we've seen a lot of funds have been set this afternoon here in Kenya.
Yes.
To help the youth, the micro, the small, and the medium-sized.
Yes, the president was at it again.
Yes, that was very good.
That's very good at Radisson Hotel. Yeah. Do we have that clip? Let it come. Yeah. The clip, if it does, let's continue talking. The clip will come where the president has inaugurated the youth fund again.
Yeah.
More money going to the youth, more money coming to the youth.
Yes.
But can the youth themselves stand up for themselves?
Exactly.
That's what everybody is asking in Africa. Yeah. Are we ourselves? Do we have a problem? When have we sorted this mess of Africa? Yeah. When can we sort the mess?
Now.
When?
Now.
People said, the financial institutions, you people, when do we sort the mess? The country really needs something. Africa needs to move on.
Yes.
We have everything.
We have everything.
We have the sunshine. Other countries, the European countries that lend us money, China that lend us money, half of China and Mongolia is all throughout ice, cold winter, bad desert.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to do there, but China is able to give us what we want.
Yeah.
Can Africa stand up and do it?
Yes, Africa can stand up and do it, and actually that will be done mostly by the common man or the common mwananchi.
The citizen.
The citizen, the common citizen. It doesn't have to be that very educated person, but anyone who has a sober mind of starting something, growing it, anyone with a vision will grow this continent.
How do you encourage people, smaller scale farming, smaller scale businessmen, smaller scale fishing people, how do you encourage them? How can the government go about to encourage? What incentives can we put in this either, industries such that we can boost our food production, our commerce, our trading, our exports, our imports? How can we do it?
The first thing that can be done about it is having a conducive business environment. That is something that cannot be compromised. That has to be there. When the conducive business environment is there and there's political stability, anything is achievable in Africa. I think most of the things that distort the business and the normal common mwananchi and different demographics is those two. Lack of a conducive environment, mostly which is triggered by instability, especially political instability. But when that is in place, a country can soar to any height that it would want to go to economically. Because when there is peace, the common mwananchi has the time and effort to think through, have a vision, have a small dream, and start working on the small dream. And have a small dream to work on. When you have peace, you have something to work on. You can be able to face. Actually, you have the strength to face tomorrow with being more optimistic. So that is what the government is, or the various governments are supposed to give us as Africans.
Yes.
Africans are.
Is that environment in Africa, Ruth? Is that environment in Africa available? In Kenya, we saw after the elections in 2017.
Yes.
Immediately they got over. Counting was done, nullification first round, everybody went down the streets.
Yes.
Second round, it was done again, everyone went to the street. Is that the type of instability you are talking about?
That's the kind of instability I was talking about, because instability brings uncertainty. Uncertainty is saying that people don't know what tomorrow holds.
Yes.
When there's uncertainty, it's saying that there's a probability of risk.
Yes.
And in such an environment, the probability of risk is high.
High.
So when it's high, people are unwilling to even wake up and go and work.
Yes.
Because if I go to work, when
You don't know what will happen.
Yeah, I might have a stray bullet somewhere, or I get some panga people walking somewhere. So when that kind of environment is happening, or such a thing is happening, then people cannot be able to be at their best. They are not at their optimal level of operation.
Yes.
So whenever any government deals with that, that means people have the confidence to be able to work and be able to dream again. Because economic growth is all about dreams.
Yes.
It's what I dream about today.
And the projections.
And projection.
Yes, dream and the project, dream again.
And aspirations.
Yes, and yes.
So working...
Those are the words that our viewers would like to know.
Yes.
Those who want to set up small-scale industries and small-scale trading, listen to her. Yes. Aspiration, dream, economic growth. It's about dream.
It's a dream.
Projection. That 2030, we might have several roads.
Yeah.
Yes, go on.
So I was saying, when you have a small dream or aspiration, that means you can start when everything is stable and working, and there's conducive environment to do that, because conducive environment is very necessary. It's just like when you're growing a plant, you need some soil, some air, some warmth, some water. All those conditions have to be necessary to be able to foster economic growth. So what happens is that the government has to ensure that there is that conducive environment. The citizens don't feel harassed, they don't feel overtaxed, they don't feel there's unfair competition, they feel there's availability of funds like we've seen today. So that fosters growth, economic growth for anyone, anywhere, in any corner of Africa. So, yes. For example, if I say in Kenya, it means that if I'm in Nairobi today, I have the same opportunity. A person in Turkana, the depth of Lamu, or the depth of Nyanza and Western, I still have the same opportunities, and I can, as long as I have the zeal. But when it comes to economic growth, the other thing also, citizens have to be willing.
Willing, yes.
Willingness.
The word aspiration, yes. Dream, willingness, stability.
Yes.
Yes, let's go. I think we are learning quite a lot of things, yes. Go ahead.
So you have to have the willingness to do something. Because even in those old days, they were told, have a dream, write it somewhere in a tablet.
Yes.
So dreaming is something that has been there since the days of old. And that means, apparently Daktari will be so shocked that dream is something that comes and aligns somehow even with purpose. Because we've seen even businessmen that have started so low in this country, and they have really grown. We've had the stories of supermarkets in Kenya.
In Kenya, Kirubi.
Yeah.
All these businessmen like a Kirubi,
yes.
My good friend.
Yeah.
He's grown from a small, in fact, Kirubi in 1980 was a taxi driver.
Exactly.
He drove us with my minister when we came in 1982 to go to Carnival.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
He was my friend.
So you were driven by a billionaire?
Yes. That time he was the manager of... it's an inspiration for this country.
Isn't it?
Yes. When the man talks about where he came from, it's an inspiration.
It is.
You know, in 1982, Kirubi was a general manager with Kenatico.
Kenatico, yeah.
Which was the best. There was an office in Intercon.
Yes.
And another office near 680.
Yes.
So the one in Intercon, Kirubi was in charge.
Wow.
So my minister, and there was a director in Kenatico.
Wow.
And my minister, whom I was working with, came with a delegation. We always come here. We said, no, he said he wants the other man. We used to go around with him. By then, a taxi was 250 shillings, Kenya shillings, the whole of town. You can travel from morning up to evening. Then
day.
Give him a tip. My friend is a great friend of mine.
Wow.
And whenever he finds me anywhere in the conferences in Addis Ababa, he pays my bills.
Wow.
That is a dream, a very good dream, hardworking, and inspiration.
Yeah.
Today is a millionaire. How many people in Africa do we have who have those type of knowledge, putting ideas together? Do we think we have enough number?
We have many numbers. Do you know actually what happens in Kenya? Let me tell you. They normally say, You know the way that our grading system normally saying after the Form 4 that you are an A student, B student, C student, and D student. They normally say that the A students and the B students normally work for the C and D student because the C and D class people are the entrepreneurs we have in Kenya.
Yes.
Actually, not even in Kenya, all over the world. Because those
Richard
are
Branson.
Exactly.
He never went to school.
No.
He never went to campus.
Yeah.
He just struggled to go after, I think after first degree,
Yeah.
he struggled to go out and he's an empire.
Yeah.
Yes, you are right.
Yeah. So we can see that there's a lot of success in class C and the C class people and the D, those who got such grades in their high school because they're entrepreneurial and they're innovative and they can be able to aspire and they are ready actually because there's also the readiness of growing a dream from a very small, there's that willingness to grow something from when it's really small. Many people, especially when you're an A student, when you have your degrees, you have your masters, you don't want to go and start from somewhere in River Road. You want to come to, I want to work
Posh
for a corporate.
place.
Yeah, I want to
upper market.
Upper market.
Yes.
Not anywhere further than Koinange
Yes.
Street.
Yes.
That kind of an attitude. So the C and D students succeed because their attitude, they don't have that kind of attitude. They are ready to start anywhere and grow from anywhere. So if such a person has 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever amount, even less, we've seen hawkers grow business. You're a hawker today, and in the next 5 years, you've grown. You have a stall somewhere in the city center. Yeah, and such kind of aspiration are what are going to foster the growth of any nation, because that means people are willing. There's that environment for them to propel.
Okay, thank you very much. We talked about, and Mr. Paul Riak is calling from the United States of America. It says, the first priority agrees with you. The first priority is establishment system of strong institutions, security, stability.
Yeah.
And this is where people are able to work, not just to work. It have to be hard work for all citizens.
Exactly.
When you talk about institutions, in microfinancing,
Yeah.
you need, I believe that's the next subject you want to touch.
Yes.
Microfinancing.
Yes.
You need institutions, stable institutions. What is microfinancing?
I think microfinance is a kind of lending institution, or people who are lending money
Yes.
to micro. Actually, right now we are not starting from small. We are starting from micro. Then we are going to small. Then we are going to medium, which means that medium have already gone to that level. They can even comfortably go to the bank. But there is this kind of micro and small. Micro, actually, that's the other thing that we had pointed about, especially we have seen lending institution, even online institution, because they want to target this group. These people, actually, they are the ones who are also being targeted by lending stuff like that are coming up, like even Fuliza.
There you are, the picture in front of you.
The Fuliza.
Yes.
So there is all kind of these microfinances that are willing to give money to anyone who is willing to do business and who is willing to work hard to repay pole as they grow themselves. So I think with that in mind, anyone can be able to succeed anywhere in this country, anytime. And the start time and date is today and now.
And now.
Yes.
Do you think, for example,
Yeah.
there are places where microfinancing, people lend out their money. And when you lend out your money, you must have a better institution. What the institutions we are talking about here, in case you lose some money, in case you lend some money, somebody doesn't pay. Some countries in Africa don't have where to go. Where do you go? Courts are corrupt. That's why people fear to go into business. That's why banks fear to lend. That's why small sharks fear to lend money, because it has caused quite a lot of intimidation, violence, because there is nowhere to resort. In Africa, which country do you think has come closer to, is it Rwanda, as they say? Because in Rwanda you can manage, you can use, its budget is 98% funded.
I think the whole business of lending money, whether it's from big institutions or whether it's from very small institution, lending money is a risky business. That's for sure. And I'll start even from Shyrox and maybe microfinances. Shyrock ones, because there are people who have been there for very unregulated, because they are not regulated. We've seen they have their own risk management measures in terms of how they look for things they can be able to peg their money with, and also they have their own credit rating, how they can be able to look at you. Maybe you bring a driving license, or you bring something, a property or something, or a shop or goods or stock that they can be able to have to append or to be able to look at as their security. So that's for one. When we go to microfinances, especially in Kenya, I want to speak in Kenya because there's the banking or the lending institution is really becoming very properly structured, from mobile money to any kind of physical lending is becoming very structured. When we go to microfinances in Kenya, and even SACCOs, maybe something that you've not touched on, microfinances, we can see now they are coming to a level that they are being regulated by the prudential guidelines of the central bank, whether they are big or small. And we can see the reason they are working like that, because if they don't come together as a microfinance regulated group, then there's a lot that they are going to lose out even from a government perspective. So that's another thing. When we go to other financial institutions like SACCOs, we have two different kind of SACCOs. We have those ones regulated by the Cooperative Act, those ones that are not deposit taking. There are those ones that are deposit taking and regulated by SASRA. You've seen that. But all these, actually, you will not believe, even before we go to the big lending institution, they have their market and they are doing very well. And people in these nations, there's that demand for money and people wanting to try out. The reason why people default, and I have seen this in many institutions, is because for once, people have tried, you try, and something doesn't really work out very well as you had planned. So it doesn't mean that you've lost your money, but maybe there's going to be delay in getting it back for such institutions. So there's that kind of risk. But they normally say, the bigger the risk, even the return is going to be big. So we can't stay as citizens and say that we are not going to take risk. Risk have to be taken. And actually making it and being growing as a business, or even making it in life, it's a risk by itself. It's a decision you choose to take today that they make you grow. And those risks are what will, my risk, your risk, come together, we make it. That's what is going to propel nations in this continent.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think those who are taking notes, Mr. David Murongo, you know him, Dr. David Murongo, he says, I should give you time. I think Mr. Murongo, have now given her more time. He has explained quite a lot of things. Also write back and tell us where you are calling us, or you are writing from, or you are watching us from. This is Africa Business. This is Africa Business, a program, a show run by Punchline Africa TV, together with Ruth Wanjiru Kinyanjui Mwangi.
Thank you.
This time I'm not getting it wrong, man. I'm getting it there. Now, we talk about, you wanted to tell us, you have your way of telling us what we should do. Yeah. You have told us how to get started small, micro, and so on. I just want to ask you one question as a layman.
Yeah.
And this question is not dodging anyone. Everybody in Africa is asking.
Yeah.
Yesterday we had a big problem about the investments that countries from outside are bringing to us. Can Africa manage, governments can foster? Instead of governments in Africa fostering the local citizens, giving them incentives, you find that governments prefer to deal with investors coming all the way from other countries outside your country, Africa. Why is it that the government does not look at fostering economic development amongst the citizens, and it goes for investors.
Thank you.
Is it capital? What is the problem? Is it, have we, under this problem, to guide you more as you go to talk about it, because I'll give you time to see more, it goes up to African Union. There is a sense of African Union. We have taken that hopelessness sense of even begging
Sad.
from other European countries in order to sustain our own African Union.
Yeah.
Why is it that Africa always looks instead of looking
inside?
Yeah, I am now a layman. I'm asking.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So what happens, Daktari, is something very simple. And I will give an example even with the Kenyan government, starting with what has happened today, since it's something that is very big and huge. So once, there are a lot of funds that are established for any kind of people. In Kenya, for example, whatever has been given out to the youth, if you can go through even the NYS, all the way to the youth fund, which has been consolidated together to a business fund right now through the, if we can look at what the budget read recently. And what was being like, for example, the funds that were being released earlier today, even through the MasterCards and the Equity, all those funds that have been rolled out. There's a lot that anyone in this country can be able, or anyone internally can be able to tap from. But what normally happens is, mostly as citizens, we really don't have a lot of information. And what happens, this information is left with, just from it's left with a few of Kenyan, especially those who are structuring those funds and those who are working on such funds, and they know how to circumvent processes. And as a result, they end up only helping themselves at the top. Yet, some of these funds are set for the common mwananchi, and I like using an example of Turkana, because whenever something happens, that's where we normally see many people saying, oh, there's drought. But such institutions have been set for anyone in the country to be able to exhaust and be able to benefit from them. But for example, what happens is people don't have information. And how can the common mwananchi get the information? Is through user education on a regular basis. People to be reminded. A long time ago, I used to see the administrative government being used to go to mashinani and to be able to give them information on what's happening, what the government is doing, the kind of initiatives that are there that people can be able to benefit from. But we haven't been seeing that, I haven't seen that personally. I don't know if it still happened, but I haven't seen that personally the last few years. And maybe as a result, there's a whole disconnect between the people in governance and those who are being governed. And what happens is, those who are governing, they end up going to look for other people to come and fill the gap that they did not educate in terms of, or in the name of investors. So they come to fill a gap that can easily be filled. But today there's something that, for example, from a Kenyan perspective, there's something that the president said, that he's going to drive this through the education system to ensure that the issues of youth have been taken care of, meaning that this gap that we've been seeing from those ones in leadership and those ones who are being led is going to calm down, meaning that the people on that the services are going to really trickle to the bottom people, even to those who are very interior. They're going to be able to benefit from what the government is doing, and they're going to help in spurring the economic growth. As such, we are going to see these gaps filling up. And as they fill up, we expect that these investors that we are talking about, who are coming to take up the jobs or the position or opportunities that Kenyans can easily take, are minimized, and there is no those kind of unbalanced competition from other people. So that is what I'm looking for, and I'm really basing my argument from what has been spoken today. Because by the time we were discussing the last show, we didn't have the picture that we've seen today, especially in terms of fund. The funds are available. The other thing also we haven't really talked about, especially when it comes to business. And when I talk to business, I cannot forget the youth, the women, and also people with disabilities. The government has given this group 30% of all the tenders, or most tenders in government institutions. So there's still an opportunity, even for the youth, women and other people who didn't have those opportunities before to come up and argue their case and still win because that is their piece of cake. So they've been given an opportunity to share in the national cake. So what are their initiatives? But as they are being expected to come up and do that, I also expect to see that what I'm trying to really watch out is that some of these benefits are not going to just be for the urban elite. That I can still see a Kenyan in the interior feeling for a tender in their government or in their county government or even in the national government and still given an opportunity to win. So what does that mean? That even in the kind of requirements that are needed to be met for Kenyans to do, or for some of these special groups to do business with their governments, that is still taken to at least to a bare minimum so that they can be able to meet the requirement. I know still there's still that gap that there's still a gap that they have to do some processes, fill some form, go through the systems. If it's in Kenya, go through the IFMI system and all that. But what about, you know what when we talk about youth, we are not talking about that person who can operate a computer. There's somebody who dropped out in class 7 or class 8.
Yes.
Or form 2.
Yes.
Or form 1.
Yes.
These people do not know.
Because of several reasons.
Yeah, they don't know how to operate a computer.
Yes.
So they should be given a chance. Actually, they are majority. They are the majority, right? So they should be given a chance, and we can be able to give them opportunity. The other thing is, now that these funds have been featured to come and help the youth and other people who want to grow business in Africa or in Kenya, these funds should be flowing, because there is also an element of corruption, like you have seen previously. As a fund has been set up, then those people who want to benefit can't, because somebody came and ran with
and they took the money.
Took many millions,
billions. In Kenya, we are not talking about millions anymore. We are talking about billions. Yes, yes, not billions. We haven't reached a trillion, because once you steal 1 trillion, the country will know.
Will know.
Yes.
So yeah, and those are some of other things that are fostering, are really limiting. And if the governments take care of some of these things, then economic growth and businesses are going to survive and grow. And in the next, actually, for example, if we speak of the next term of the president, that means in those 3 years, he should have achieved much more just from within. The budget deficit that is there, that is to be funded internally, with the kind of, if the business are fostered in the country, yes, I don't see a gap coming.
If we yes, come back and foster business,
yeah,
internally,
yes, then people will be in that threshold. They'll be educated, because as people are educated to know what's happening, then they're happy. When they're happy, they are ready to work more.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ruth. We want to go for a short break. Drink some water, pay 1 or 2 bills, and advertise our program as it is. If you have any program that you want to advertise, you want to talk to us, you have a business, small scale business, you want to put it on this television as Ruth talks, that particular hour is hit. You can see we are hitting 33 to 40, 45 per second.
Wow.
Per second. Wow. The numbers that you see there mean we have 32 people per second, or 40 or 50. We would like Ruth to hit 200 per second. And that is when we advertise, when we bring more and we educate. Our shows are educative. Let's take a break. Let's have a small commercial advertising the company. Discuss Africa. We see what ails Africa. And today, this afternoon, we want to see whether Sudan will permanently remain a sick child of Africa. Is it a permanent sickness? Can we resolve the issues of Southern Sudan? Is it something that has gone wrong for 200 years? There has always been a problem in Southern Sudan, in that great region, starting from all the way the Al-Mahdi wars and the rest of all what happened until today. Peace seems to be elusive. Why has UN taken slow action? Why hasn't UN set up a tribunal
We want to see a tribunal that will make sure that Southern Sudan people are accountable. Those who committed crimes against the human beings. 20,000 Sudanese perished. They are perished. They are not accountable. Nobody can account for them. And we cannot sit here, go on hammering peace agreements without mechanisms of accountability. If we set a tribunal for Sierra Leone, for Rwanda, for Camera Rouge, we need somebody to stand up for the poor masses, the masses that have died, the masses that continue to die, the masses that are being brutalized, murdered, maimed on a daily basis by marauding armies of both Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. There must be an accountability. You are not going to sit here and tell people there is no accountability in Southern Sudan. There must be a tribunal. Why do we run to harass countries of Kenya? Put ICC on Kenya, put ICC on this country, put ICC on Central African Republic. Why have we delayed on putting a tribunal for Southern Sudan to find out who is killing, who has been killing, how they have been killing people? Let me speak for the people in Southern Sudan, the women, the children who have not gone to school, the children who have no medicine, the children who have nothing, who have been running since 2013, and the war cannot end because of two people. Let them face the tribunal. I'm not going to keep quiet as a Pan-African to see Southern Sudan being maimed, being tortured, being cut, dismembered, and we keep quiet and watch people vote images of people, of malcontents singing to us in Uganda, in Kenya, in Ethiopia, in South Africa, telling us they have money. Let them face the international tribunal and tell the tribunal who gave them the guns, where they buying them, how they were killing people. Enough of is enough. Enough is enough for Africa. We have had enough. There is no need of that anymore. Enough is enough. And if people have died, they will not cry. We people who are left on planet Earth must cry for them. We must find justice for them. We must make sure that their leaders who go on bragging on television stations all over the world should are accountable. They must be behind bars.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our last segment of our show, Africa Business. We now want to look at the type of education that is needed. And for those who have watched Ruth Wanjiru talk, Ruth Wanjiru talks as if she should be in PDU. That is Mr. Mwita Nzioka. I think you are watching me. This is the type of brains you should put in PDU. I will try to tell you, to talk to you. You should put this lady in PDU. Delivery, telling people, sensitizing people, telling them exactly what can be done. Very many of our people who want to do business, however small it is, some of them don't know what to do, how to begin, where to begin. So the PDU, which is the President's Delivery Unit, can accommodate ideas of this nature. And if you go around the country sensitizing people, we can beat the question of the debt. We can pay China if we have so many people producing instead of talking. So today you talked about two things: microfinancing and another thing, youth. Very important element in any type of business. Now, here we are. We can now talk about education. Not only everybody who goes to the university is a genius. Is genius. Even those who drop out are genius.
Yeah.
Those who drop out and go to polytechnic, in technical schools, what do you say about that? I leave it to you. Take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Actually, previously, what used to happen is that we used to see we used to have a lot of technical college and polytechnics all over the country, and they used to really help those people who haven't really gotten to that level, or people who are not bright enough. Not everyone is dumb, but also not everyone is keen in class. Other people are just they are thinkers. You can be a thinker, but you're not the best in class. That doesn't disqualify you. But recently, I think for the last 15 to 20 years ago, that is when I've seen the spring up. Actually, the last 15 years is when I've seen a lot of polytechnic universities coming up, and most of the polytechnics being converted to university, meaning that they made the previous courses or the technical courses they rendered them redundant while they are not. So meaning we are pushing people of E and D to university.
Yes.
And we are taking them to a place of struggle.
Yeah.
You know, somebody said that you cannot remove a fish from the lake, then give it a test of climbing the tree, then you tell it if it doesn't climb the tree, it's dumb. Then that means if we do that, the measurement, the way we measure our success then becomes very different, because we are taking to class people who also don't want to be in class. And by the time they are graduating, all of them, and they are here expecting for white collar jobs, and those white collar jobs are not there, then these youth become very, very frustrated. And right now, actually, getting some of these courses become very difficult because people think they are not the best courses. Actually, they think they're outdated. You can't even easily get a plumber or electricians, you know, people who really used to fill their own gap, and actually people who used to be activator of the Juakali sector. So what I'm saying is we have to reach a point and accept that we have different type of people in a classroom. There are those ones who want to become doctors. There are those ones who want to become innovators and thinkers. And we have to separate them like that. It doesn't mean that even today, I think instigation, and I'm thankful for the last few times we've seen, especially in the education system, at least nowadays, there's not that crazy grading where people feel condemned because you did not get an A or a B. And even we've seen students even doing some crazy stuff and even hanging themselves, killing themselves because they felt that they did not meet some of the measures that had been put for them. So that said, we are trying to say that let those ones who want to continue with technical stuff do their technical stuff. Let them not be forced. They have a place to play. They have a whole gap to fill in this economy. The doctors and the engineers and the first class people, they also have a place to fill. Let's not push everyone to the university. The technical college are as good as any other thing. And we all, that way then we are going to be able to foster a lot of economic growth. Also, it's going to help us deal with the youth menace because there's a lot of mental health issues, depression. A 20 and 18-year-old person or 20-year-old person is slipping into depression. How?
Yeah, let me hold it there. Depression comes because of negligence.
Yeah.
We have a ministry for social services in Kenya.
Yeah.
But most of the social workers are on payroll, but we don't see them. How many in your village have ever visited you? Do you have did you know that you as a Kenyan, you know that you have a social worker who is designated for your place? If you stay in Runda, you go to the Ministry of Social Services. They are there. They are on payroll. They are getting our money. And then you see the president tells us that people are dying, committing suicide. Mr. President, the people who are not doing the job are the social workers, are the community workers. You remember when we grew up in Africa, when things were not as they are today. Our things were very good.
Yeah.
We were organized. We had community workers, people who inspect our homes, our homesteads, to see you have a pit latrine. Health, you have dug your trenches that take the water.
Yes.
You have dug your things. You have been able, no jiggers, no what. Those are there. In Kenya, we have those institutions. But what we have done, these institutions are on paper. They are on paper. They collect. If you go to the Ministry of Social Services, you will see a very big title on the door. Director of Social Services. But if you ask the director, Kutan, the CS, whether this director is in Masabit or Isiolo or Mandela or any Turkana, the social workers, the social network is supposed to bring all these problems. Financial advisors are attached to government institutions.
Yes.
For example, people in Kenya get Rotary. We now have so many people playing betting on telephone, on phone, on television. Somebody who has never seen 10 million shillings can go mad. What is the role of the social worker? What's the role of that's the department you are talking about.
Yes.
We have no institutions that take people only look for AAA, take them.
Yes.
What about the DCB? Where do they go?
Exactly.
I think that's why I came in to help you on that.
Thank
I think it has it matched with what you are saying?
Clearly.
Because we are looking at factors that can make the government foster economic growth. One of the factors, institutions. If you don't have social institutions, we go to China, we borrow the money. The Chinese don't eat it the way we eat it. But once the money reaches here, we eat it.
Yes.
But the Chinese eat only once. We eat 3 meals.
Or 4.
Or 4. Some people go and kill their wives because they have not given them the other meal.
Yes, I saw that.
That's Africa for you. So when you are dealing with this Ruth,
yes,
you have to be very candid.
Yeah.
Because the other stations, they might say this is editorial. Here there is no editorial. You tell the truth like a church priest, like an apostle. You are sent. You are now preaching to the people. You are now telling the people how to conduct themselves in their businesses in order to foster growth. So you must be candid all the time and tell the truth. We in Africa, we kill each other. We fight each other. Look at the wealth in Biafra. Look at the wealth in Nigeria. Nigeria is the worst place that you can ever do business.
Yeah.
That when you go with Nigerian on a plane in Dubai and he's a fellow African, it's shameful for you to be, removed from him and be told go that way. It's very bad.
It's very bad.
The state has spoiled. Africa is spoiled. These are the challenges you have to, you people who are now coming up, younger generation, trying to sensitize Africans to talk about the issues. This is it. Talk about them. They blame Uhuru all the time. They blame Uhuru. They blame Museveni. But themselves. For example, you saw last week in your program, you raised a very serious point. You don't know what that point is. It went straight deep to the government. Yes. You raised the point. Who are these who lease the houses?
Exactly.
We are crying of Chinese coming into Kenya. But who are these Africans, Kenyans, who have leased these shops? When they were leasing these shops to Chinese down the River Road, didn't they know that they are not supposed to? What is the work of a community social financial worker that the government pays? Exactly. You raised a very good point there.
Thank you.
And you scored. It is we people ourselves. We call these Chinese. We talk too much. Can you tell the people, the public, why the Indian community has flourished wherever they go? You must be having some tips.
Yes.
And tell our African people why we cannot develop.
I think for you, I'll explain the Indian area of concern and business. I think in my early years of my career, I worked with some of the best Indians I've ever known.
Yes.
And when I was working for them, it was a startup. And actually, next time I'll tell them to watch this program.
No, you do.
So, but it was a startup. And being a startup, they were starting from the lowest level. And I was admin, come accountant, and almost general manager. But they are ready to start from somewhere down there. They are ready to take as little as they can in terms of salary, or even not, to support the business. And they did that for the first 5 years. But they have their communities, because there is something very important about we don't understand about communities. There's something that has always been talked about in Kenya about Nyumba Kumi, but no one wants to really take it seriously. Even today, if I ask you how many people you know around your area, maybe you know 5. And the Nyumba Kumi initiative is another community thing we are also talking about. And the Indian communities are really supported by their community to be able to grow business. And very few Asian people are even employed, because instead of being employed, come and bring all your energy to the family business. And once you do whatever will be coming out of the family business, maybe you can become a supplier. Instead of us buying from somebody, you can start bringing us to us. And that way, they are able to grow. And they are able to grow together. But at the same time, they have values that bring them together. And they still want to maintain those values. And even those who are employed, those who go to formal employment, they go to learn. They learn how to maybe audit, to do other professional courses, to be valuers, engineers, whatever they are, and bring it back, plow it back to the community or their business plan. And that way, because there's also an element of consistency. There has to be, in business, there has to be a level of consistency and also resilience, because Rome was never built in a day. It has to take a lot of time, and one has to have the patience to be able to grow it. For Asian communities, since they came in Africa, they started their own businesses those days. And it's like an American, the way you see American, they are like 4 generations or 5, or even to 6 generations, and they're still running the same business. That consistency builds some of these mega businesses that we see today. Yeah. So there has to be a level of consistency. But as African, I think we have a problem, and it's throughout the whole Africa. First, we do not know what we want. Secondly, we do not have people we are not patient enough to be mentored by the people who have been there for us to grow. Thirdly, we don't have the consistency. Fourthly, if you are doing well, I want to be able also to be doing as well as you are, not even knowing the kind of price maybe you have had to pay. I want to run your race. I forget I have my own race. But if you go, for example, in the Asian communities, a person who has been a cobbler for all those years, or a shoe, or a plumber, they have done it. I go to town when I want to have somebody check on my watch, and I find an old muzee, and he has businesses of just watches and repairing of watches, and they have done that to generation. Whether it brings billions of money or very little money, they are consistent to the cause. We cannot run each other's race. I cannot run your race, Dr. Matanga. I don't know what your passion. Like, I see you so passionate here in media. I see the passion of Pan-Africanism. I cannot start coming and start outdoing you in whatever you do. I don't know what motivates you. So in business is what keeps you awake at night. What keeps you awake? What is that thing that you look for, you want to build? Sometimes you can even call castles, but are you ready to start with laying the first brick? That is one of the things that we don't want to do. And actually, if you look at the larger spectrum of it, that's why corruption comes in. Because now I want to abandon my race. Where you got your billions, I'm ready to break a bank and get mine too, at whatever costs. That is one of the biggest problem we have. And if we have that problem as a people, then we cannot be able to raise those mega businesses, some of the kind of dynasties that we have seen across the world. The big, for example, if I can talk about Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, he started from nowhere. Look at him now. Patience. A level of patience has to be there to build a brand. That patience is what we need as a people. And also what drives us. What drives me as an African? Am I being driven by being good, outshining you, or building something? We have to be very focused in where we are coming from, where we are, and where we are going. And that is what builds the businesses in terms of even strategic planning. And that is where we have to start. Whether you are educated or whether you are not. Whether you are a big organization or whether you are starting. It has to start somewhere. And there has to be that passion is a fire that will drive that business. And that's what's going to determine whether you are going to grow or not grow. And actually, it's what is going to be the differentiator. Because they normally say that after 21 days, you get a habit. So after a year, you're building an empire. After 3 years, we can't contain you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, my last, as we come to the end of the show, many of the viewers would like to know the obstacles.
Yeah.
The obstacles that are faced. The obstacles a citizen, the mwananchi, that person, the small man starting. Most of them have complained of bureaucracy in the systems, in government, in acquiring the paperwork needed, in paying for taxation, for certificates, for permits. That explain to the people, because it is part of the problem. If we are looking how governments can foster, are there places where governments can, freeze some of these regulations to allow many people to try? Because someone is going to borrow money, 30,000 shillings, is going to sell Chosik, and you need a permit which is 25,000 or 15.
Yeah.
Where will the person get the money?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for touching on that point, and it really integrates a lot from the central or the main government or the central government to even the county government at this level, because most of the even licensing are done by the county governments. And as we're talking right now, we've seen that it's like mostly those two operate independently. The right hand and the left hand do not know, what each other is doing. But it's unless we really integrate those two that we can be able to cascade the value to the common mwananchi. And how do we do that? For example, in terms of licensing, I think the government should be able to pass some of the laws that should be able to cater for, especially for startups. I normally see them being charged. If you have a small shop or a very small shop, you're charged around 5,000 for business license. And actually, do you know some of the services, like even getting an M-Pesa line or things like that, you can't get without some of these licenses.
Yeah.
So there are those restrictions down there. Sometimes they are not seen as significant, but to that particular person, they are very significant. Yeah. But at the same time, both the central government wants to make its taxes. The county government wants to do their rate. So they still want to, both of them want to do, to make income from the same person. I think there has to be, and maybe this is something that the government should think about in terms of integration, especially to the areas that clearly affect common mwananchi. And I think the last time we spoke about medical, we saw the integration, how the national government need to integrate with the county government to ensure things like even health services do not fail. Because when somebody is sick, that person cannot be able to do business. So they should be able to streamline in terms of what needs to be charged and what not to be charged. And especially for startup, anyone who is starting, that mama mboga is very significant because he feeds a whole, can I call them maybe middle class, if that's a word. She feeds middle class. If she doesn't have the right commodities for that middle class or the right goods, that means we are not feeding properly the nation or the people who we think have the energy to work for any country. It's a whole web actually. It's very interrelated, and that is how the government needs to look at it. That whenever it's cascading value, it's building itself.
Oh, yes.
So it shouldn't separate us. Come and tell you are under county government. There should be a way of integration, and that integration should be seen as value to the common mwananchi. And when that value is seen by the common mwananchi, believe me, people will be willing to work.
Okay.
People will be willing to start businesses. People will be looking forward to wake up and do something. Money will be flowing. People will not be putting their money in the house in the mattress. In the mattress.
Yes. Because there is a saying now that why there is this political temperature.
Yes.
People have money, they look at it, it's going, the months are running.
Yes.
So they don't know how to change.
Yeah.
You can't go to the bank and deposit 200 million. You must tell them where you have been hiding it and why. And talking about the money and the bank, the governor of the central bank has now come for these loans, the small loans that we get on Mukopo, what is it called?
Fuliza.
Fuliza, what we get on the phone.
On the M-Pesa.
Do you know there are so many people
benefiting
and some are getting, once you fail to pay that Fuliza, you are blacklisted CRP.
Yes.
You don't get any credit. What can the government do as your last parting shot? What do you want your viewers to expect next week?
Okay. First, what I'll say, any business person, whether very small or medium, because we are talking about micro, small, and medium, they need funding. Right now, we spoke last week and said the banks largely are not even they're not even funding the common businesses because they feel the government is paying better than the small mwananchi. And this mkopo of the mobile money is those small Fuliza stuff and KCB. We normally see KCB, every bank has its own kind of a loan. They have come to fill in that gap that people have, but they cannot readily. And actually, it's normally executed within, I think it's immediately, some within 24 hours, you get your money in the bank. If you had something to do quickly, then that means you can be able to turn around. It will be very difficult if maybe the central bank is looking at it from a perspective of this is public money or things to do with public, but still, they should look at it from a point of that they are not hurting business. So, because the government here is so keen on fostering growth, then somebody else should not come and cut that hand that want to. So as much as they are regulating, they should ensure they're just putting processes and procedures to ensure that everyone is safe, both the lender and the borrower.
Okay.
Yeah. But as a parting shot, I think in Africa, starting from Nigeria where the gorilla ate the money, to everywhere, I think...
Oh, you have to bring that again. Oh, my sister, you have to bring the gorilla ate the money. The man should have just said the money was taken by him. Surely, a gorilla cannot eat the money. Yeah. Where does it swallow? How does it swallow it?
Millions.
Millions.
So, what I'm trying to say is that business is possible in Kenya. Business is possible in Uganda. It's possible in Rwanda, Tanzania, and in the entire Africa. Our people actually are capable and able. The government needs to fill this gap that is all over, of the rich and the poor. Start filling in that gap. Start putting in some stone so that we can build a good house. Otherwise, if the foundation are not right, even if we want to build a 30-story building, it can't stand. We need to build it from the ground and ensure that the foundation of the people that we have in this country is secure. We cannot concentrate on a class of people. We have to concentrate on everyone. That one the who has, and those who don't. And those who don't are the many. Then we should concentrate on them. That's my parting shot.
Thank you very much, Ruth Wanjiru Kinyanjui Mwangi. All the way, she's an expert in financial matters. She advises on financial. If you have anything that you doubt on your finances, if you are going to do a startup, you do those advices.
Yes.
She's a consultant in business administration, financing, market, financial institutions. Generally, she knows more about monetary and fiscal policies. I only read them for purposes of passing the PhD. You need to know what a monetary policy is. But she has read it in depth and she knows all about it. She's always here on Tuesday and Thursday. She will be here telling us more about all this. I want to thank you, take this opportunity to thank you once again.
Thank you.
And thank you. But today before she leaves, today being a refugee day, International Refugee Day, I will not leave this platform without saying something for my fellow refugees. I left my country 34 years ago after our government was overthrown. I was a personal assistant in Dr. Milton Obote's office. We left on 27th July 1985, Saturday, 10 o'clock. I've not forgotten the time. Since then, I have seen exactly what it means to be a refugee and what it means for the people of Biafra, of Amazonia, of Central African Republic, and other places, those fighting. And that's why we fight. That's why you see me with that heart of making sure that conflicts don't happen again, like the type of conflict that made me to leave my own country. I'm here as an example of a refugee 34 years ago who trekked out of his country, not knowing where I was going, not knowing where my children were, not knowing where my wife, whether she's safe or not. But here I am today, Dr. David Nyekorach Matsanga. The trials and tribulations that I've gone through emboldened me to help more and more to secure a better Africa, to make Africa better, to make people do business, to encourage more people to start up shops, small scale farming, small trading. That's why we have this station. I wanted to say these words, that there is no shortage, as she has said. All people who sit for exam have grades, and those grades are very important to each other. Therefore, I want to thank the government of Kenya and the government of Britain that some of us ended to be as refugees. They resettled us, and hallelujah, we are here. That's why I've chosen to speak in front of you that today is Refugee Day, World Refugee Day. Wherever you are, refugees, in the camps, in the suffering, in all manner of things, those in Somalia who are running away from their homes because of the war, we pray for you, we encourage you that once you get a chance, always do one thing. There's one thing I want to leave you with. Go to school. Whatever the school is, open up. The only thing that can save a refugee are tools of analysis. If you have the tools of analysis, you will beat everybody on their own game. Thank you very much. God bless you. This station, therefore, I want to thank you again, my madam, for listening to us and teaching us. You know, there are so many people who have brought in very good
comments.
and there are so many glorious. Dr. M. Matanga, do the business cannot foster in Africa because of dictatorship that created corruption and a civil war was in Africa. Thank you. You have made my day. Ambesh Arthur, because I've just talked about refugee. Joseph Otto Manese says, we have so many good dogs in Africa. We could start business by exporting dog meat to China. Oh, there are so many coming now. John Gachuki Kingara.
Yeah.
I think you know him.
Yeah, I know him.
He's laughing. He says, oh, you done it. You done it. Of course, David Murogo again said, I leave you, but I answered him, I have to come in to direct the show. Yes, I think he is one of your fans. You tell him he has to direct the show.
Okay.
Yes, until you yourself, you run the show.
Yes.
And bring your guest.
Yes.
So for now, this week, we were only showing Madame around the studio. And you tell us make your contribution exactly. Tell us where we can change, what we cannot change. Thank you very much, all of you. The people who have talked to us. Punchline Africa TV is one of the viable options we have to fight neocolonialism in Africa. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dudi Ume, from my great land of Biafra. May God help you. May God stay with you. I am with you all the way to Jerusalem. This station, therefore, is for Africa, with Africa, by Africa. Ciao.